We now cross live to our reporter, Veronica Mokhoali, who is on standby. Veronica, good afternoon to you. What can you tell us?
Well, Abo, we have been here with the Nelson Mandela National Children's Fund, speaking, of course, ahead of that very crucial second edition of the Children's African Summit. Now, the aim of the summit is to bring forward issues faced by children in Africa, pertaining, of course, to whether it be, social issues, health issues, but the main theme that will be happening in August this year, held in Johannesburg, will be centered around education, among other themes. Now, of course, Abu would know that there have been many summits before regarding the issue of children and having a conversation around the issues that face them. But what makes this summit particularly special is the fact that it is a child-led conference. More than about 300 children will be taking part in this across the continent. And, of course, the issues that have been put forward were, of course, elected by the children themselves. In fact, Thabo, when we were speaking to some of the panels here and asking why South Africa exactly was chosen to be part of the summit, it's because, we were given reasons that on the African continent, South Africa was probably one of the first places where we saw children taking charge, taking effort for their own futures. And this is in relation to the June 16, protests and the student uprising. So we see that correlation and that tie between the future of South African children and the efforts it takes for young people to get involved. But of course, this summit will not just be about, civic organizations. Government is also part of spearheading this. And we are speaking now to the Deputy Minister for the Social Development Department, who deals very closely with the issues of young people in this country. Minister, thank you. Well, Deputy Minister, thank you for your time. I think from just a government perspective, the importance of, spearheading a summit like this and what you are hoping to see coming from the children of South Africa and I guess the continent at large.
I think what is important for us is, as government, we are the custodians of the rights of children. We are the legal guardians of children. We are a member state of the African Union. So it's very important for South Africa, firstly, where we have a very interactive Children's Act, where children in South Africa have a lot of other opportunities to participate, to be seen, to be heard, and to be engaged. And we feel also that it then will be important for us to become part of the bigger continent, but to provide that particular leadership where we ensure that children from other countries have an opportunity to interact. Now, government is not only going to be arriving, we're also committing resources, build up activities, because we know that the space but also the duration is very limited. So we'll be having summit activities. Our normal chomi, you'd know it, 10 to 14-year-olds, our young YOLO, 15 to 18-year-olds. So boys championing change to give the voice of the boy child. And it would be each and every, like now we're going tribal council by tribal council, where we've briefed the National House of Traditional Leaders to make sure that we are able to engage rural children. And so it's all about children that takes responsibility for Africa's future, and also seeing Africa from the lens of a child, so that we are able to enable children to contribute to an Africa fit for children.
You spoke about children's voices and reflecting some of those. We know that about at least 20% of the delegates, which are children themselves that will be part of this, are coming from, a background of disabilities. But what else can we expect? What are the type of voices? And in a country like ours, there are so many different backgrounds. What are we hoping to hear from?
One of the most important voices is child-headed household. Being a parent, looking after your siblings as a child, taking responsibility. But it's also the issues around children and alcohol and substance abuse, which leads to underage drinking. It's the issues around positive parenting, because in that we are also building up interactions with parents, so that we don't actually create an impression that when children stand up to speak for themselves, all of a sudden they become disrespectful children. So we are looking at strengthening the relationship. Amongst the other programs, it's identifying what we call learning opportunities from our Families Matter program, where for us as social development is giving effect to it takes a village to raise a child. And that is across the African continent, where we take collective responsibility to raise an African child.
Right, thank you for your time, Minister. Appreciate it. And, there it is, hoping that, of course, the summit, when it does happen in August, will be able to get a clearer sense, perhaps not just only the issues faced by children in Africa, but perhaps maybe more detailed understanding of what really are the challenges facing South African children and, of course, the solutions.